Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Well, this morning I have a couple of lawyers with me. Not that I have any case, it's just that they will be explaining the situation to us. And if I did have a case, it is the lawyers that probably will be introducing me, not the other way around. But let me just say good morning to, very close, contributors of ours. Malaki Ugumadu, human rights activist and legal practitioner. Thanks a million, Malaki, for coming on.
Thank you for the opportunity.
As always, thank you. Indeed. Then Mr. Jide Ologun, public affairs analyst and legal practitioner.
Good morning.
Indeed. Thank you very much for coming as well. Now, it's a subject of interest that we're going to be discussing today. You might have figured it out already. It's that the Chief Justice, has indeed now reacted to a subject matter that we've often heard about from lawyers on the program. Subject matters like forum shopping, for instance, things like contradictory, rulings. You know the situation very well. High Court in Lagos, for example, I just said that off the top of my head, will have a position. Those that are affected by that position will nip across, for example, to where? Bayelsa, Anambra, wherever, and get a contradictory ruling. Now the the Chief Justice of the Federation has risen to the matter, has spoken on it, and that's what we'll be talking about this morning. Chief judges in particular, they seem to get a very stern look, shall I limit it to that, from the Chief Justice, and that matters will indeed be probed further. Now, let me start, and let me just take the principles that the Chief Justice really dealt with. This matter of contradictory ex parte motions being obtained. We always did wonder if it is one legal system, if it is one court, a high court here. You people talk of lawyers to tell us about courts of competent jurisdiction. So how come then that this was happening and it now has gotten to this level? Or put it the other way around. What do you think has finally moved the Chief Justice to speak on this thing that was becoming, like our people say, pure water?
Well, again, thank you for having me. I do believe that the Chief Justice of Nigeria has become as scandalized as even the public. And now I make this remark on purpose, essentially because that notion of justice, that principle of justice, is rooted in confidence, not in the confidence of lawyers, but in the confidence of the public. So at any time when the public becomes a bit suspicious
or skeptical,
or if you like, conflicted about that notion of justice as obtainable in the judiciary, then justice has taken a flight. It does not evaporate at the point when you lose your case. It moves when the public lose confidence. So I do believe that, and it's not a new thing.
No. You people have spoken about it.
In short, I'm aware that in the past, not too long ago, we have had the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court issuing an express directive to the heads of the judicial divisions, Federal High Court in the country, to remain extremely circumspect in granting ex parte orders. It was ex parte orders.
And ex parte orders for non-lawyers is what, sir?
Oh, well,
very, very briefly.
It is an order. It is a kind of ruling which was obtained without the input of the corresponding party, of the other party.
So is it safe to say in the absence of that corresponding party?
Yes, in the absence of that corresponding party.
Let me come back to you, sir, because in the meantime, I want to bring up something that I read in the news report where the Chief Justice had said, opined that an injury to one jurisdiction is an injury to all. Well, it seems logical enough, but explain it a bit further and why it is pertinent that that statement was made.
Yeah, brilliant observation. he spoke about that in the concept of the macro consideration of the judiciary. You see, we are talking of courts of coordinate jurisdiction here. And of course, the damage that may be done will be to the whole of judiciary.
You see, one moment, sir, because I'm going to require a little explanation. Courts of coordinate jurisdiction.
Yeah.
You know, just very, very briefly, what does that mean?
Parallel jurisdiction. You know, if you are not satisfied with what has happened in the High Court,
yes,
you go to the Court of Appeal. But in a situation where a decision has been taken and order is given by a High Court, and you have the same parties, the same issue, you go to another court, and the court pretends as if the court is not aware.
Oh, that's an important
that
word.
Has been
we'll come back
pronounced
to
upon.
I just got a word that
Exactly.
is going to be useful to me, because I like when you said the court pretends,
Exactly.
you know, over there. Because that's something else that came up. That I think the Chief Justice, and I'm switching to you, Malaki, the Chief Justice also took under his wing. And this is where he really wagged his fingers at chief judges of states to be very, very careful. Why, not that they put it in those unlawyerly terms, but why is it that until now it was able to be done? Isn't there a system, a mechanism? So you come before this judge who is 7, 8, maybe 11 states away from where the matter that you want to litigate is concerned, and that person, that system, that court system, because it is in Nigeria, cannot claim not to know. Are they not able to look up a database and say, but my friend, what do you think you're doing? This matter is pending in Anambra, for instance.
Well, it is at the heart of this challenge. And so it goes beyond.
So the court you arrive at, sir, is just going to put blinkers on and say, I'm dealing with the application in front of me? I
said it's at the heart of this challenge, meaning that there are a lot more to be done beyond just summoning the chief judges of the respective states that are affected. By the way, those chief judges or justices are not the actual judges, you know, that determined this case and gave these expertise or conflicting expertise orders. In which case, the admonition is first to the chief judges of the states affected to to ensure that those judges involved taken on and then dealt with. But the point I'm making is that beyond inviting these people for the parley, as I see it, there is the more important responsibility of the state. And by the state, I mean the government, to make provisions and strengthen the system in such a way that through digital technology, a robust infrastructural development, you are able to track, you know, what is happening in other jurisdictions, because that has come to the heart of this. And by far more important than that is what we do with research assistants that are attached to judges everywhere in the world. You know, you don't expect a judge who has so much in his docket to leave the determinations of the matters before him and concentrate on what is happening almost simultaneously in other jurisdictions. This becomes the responsibility of research assistants, of aides, and so on and so forth.
So that's what, in the sense in which you say it's at the heart of this matter. You know, again, to you, Jide, you used the word pretending that sort of got me onto this particular angle. So I'm deducing from all of that that a judge, you know, setting up this theoretical scenario, a judge who is fully aware that this matter is ongoing elsewhere will not ordinarily, that judge's court will probably ordinarily not want to take on that case. I want you to comment on that. Is that so or not? That is to say, there is no question whatsoever that the judge is aware that this is a matter ongoing in a given area.
In an ideal situation where the judge is worth his onions or her onions, you are expected in a case like this, which is a public case, which is a conduit, is not someone you can classify as a background citizen. This, I mean, even if it's by listening to the news in the morning on his way to the court, he should have been aware that this matter came up elsewhere, using that as an example. And of course, I think we also need to touch...
Sir, I just want to clarify it properly. You have to indulge non-legal minds.
Yes.
Where there is no doubt whatsoever, in other words, if the judge were even to admit that I am this is a theoretical scenario,
Yes.
but I'm aware this is an ongoing matter here. If there was no doubt whatsoever, it's not a matter of should, if there was no doubt whatsoever that the judge knew, is there any area under which the judge could still take on the case?
Excellently. The judge has a very extensive elasticity of discretion. And let me explain ex parte order. It will help us to understand. An ex parte order is legitimate.
Correct.
Where there is an imminent danger or harm or something may happen that may make the injury irreversible.
Okay.
You can go for it. And it means the other party is not on notice. But you have a matter before the court. So it's an interim order that, okay, retain status quo, don't take any action. In this case, the judge would have said, okay, you are running to me as if there's an emergency. I'm giving you an instruction to put the other party on notice.
Okay.
And I will give you a short date. If you are here on Tuesday, can you come back on Wednesday? And what does it take to put someone on notice now? You can, I mean, so, and that is the kernel of it now.
Thank you for that explanation, because I needed it to ask Malaki the point that the Chief Justice also made, admonishing chief judges to stop giving complicated cases to, I don't know how to call a new judge, new judges, because there's that aspect, inexperienced. Yeah, that was the word already in there. To stop giving fresh cases or complicated cases to inexperienced judges.
Well,
because it seemed to me that he just explained that don't run away with the idea that there's anything wrong with ex parte motions.
Of course.
So so when he referred to complicated cases.
well, it's neither here nor there, in my view, but I concede and accept his analysis of what an ex parte order means.
Yes,
it is legitimate, it is part of our practice, it is very important because it saves a lot of situations.
I've taken that for granted, sir.
So
but I just was
now
wondering
on this case of
if that is part of the complication, because he just explained and you agreed that there are circumstances where it's not
so
as if it's a bad
Mr.
thing.
Ayori, it's a very robust system we have. Perfect? No, it cannot be. We don't have any that is perfect anywhere in the world. The issue is this. How do you determine a complicated case? When it is for determination, you can't prejudge. So,
The Chief
so
Justice's
we have in the system judicial officers who are designated as administrative judges. Are you with me? Different from the chief judge. The chief judge sees the matter, transfers it, or goes straight to the administrative judge. He or she has the discretion and prior opportunity of looking at the facts of the matter, understands the nature of that matter. And in some divisions, there are specialties, there are specializations. You have commercial division, you have labor, that's industrial matter, you have this and that. And he or she decides to take any of this matter that comes to him to any of these places. Now, this idea of young judges doesn't quite fly with me.
Inexperienced judges,
doesn't quite fly with me. You know why? The Constitution. You don't just become a judge in Nigeria. There are benchmarks. There are you must have attained certain period of time in the bar as a legal practitioner, as a lawyer. You must have met those thresholds. So,
but not one day of that having been spent as a judge on a bench.
No, we're talking of a time frame of say 10 years, 15 years, depending on the category of the judge where you're getting the appointment. Now, if you are that old in the bench, it is expected that you would know, assuming without conceding as we see, that you are aware of the pendency of a similar matter in other jurisdiction, you are expected to caution yourself.
Okay.
Where you already know, as you earlier stated, that these judges are aware, then it becomes a matter for discipline.
Okay.
It is part of their codes of conduct.
Okay.
You cannot, because what do you want the public to do? You give another here, somebody goes to Jigawa or Bauchi and obtains from the same court of coordinate jurisdiction, that is equal courts. That's a recipe for anarchy.
Okay, the question about the Chief Justice using, and I'm quoting his words directly, the matter of inexperienced judges. And by that, it seems to me, just walking the streets, kicking the can along the line, along the street, that means a judge that has just been appointed and has become a full-fledged judge last week, last month, 2 months ago. That's my own guess as to inexperienced judges, because the CJ, the Chief Justice, did, caution, chief judges to desist from that matter, even though, as Malaki has said, how do you predetermine complicated cases? But they're the chief justices worse. You any thoughts on that whole matter about inexperienced judges and complicated cases?
The Chief Justice was addressing the chief judges in vicarious capacity. That, okay, you are their leader, you should be able to coordinate what goes on. But I don't want to agree with the term inexperience, because if we go that deep, we'll be destabilizing the integrity of the judiciary. So, because of course they need to learn on it. And we are discussing this because it came up now.
Yes.
Let's go back to content analysis, sir.
And giving people walking the street another insight that they might not have had, even though it might be perfectly understandable to all legal minds. But the Chief Justice, perhaps inadvertently, I'm not sure, did give out that, Mr. Chief Judge, I'm surprised that there is evidence that you have given relatively inexperienced judges complicated cases. Maybe it's not the way to go.
Let me take us to content analysis. Let's go to history, because we need to visit the foundation of all this. The judiciary needs help. On the 7th of January 2019, a petition was received by the Code of Conduct Bureau against the former Chief Justice of Nigeria in the area of not declaring his assets. On the 14th of January 2019, the trial started. On the 23rd of January 2019, which was like a Wednesday or so, there was an ex parte order obtained in the Code of Conduct Tribunal mandating the president to suspend the then Chief Justice of Nigeria. And that was carried out on the 25th of January 2019. And if you look at section 292 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it makes provision for the removal of the Chief Justice of Nigeria. And the man was knocked out of office by the same ex parte order. Yes. As one of the tools used. Yes. Now we are crying foul.
No, sir.
So the Chief Justice himself is likely to have been a beneficiary.
Could you help me a bit, sir? The story you've just narrated, I want you to sort of help me understand how it points to the comment of the Chief Judge, because I thought that was what you wanted to illustrate with an example, that, look, Chief Judges, stop giving complicated cases to inexperienced judges.
That is given. If we have inexperienced judges in our judicial system, I am worried. That is not the issue to address now. The issue to address is that, you see, we must clean up the system. It's either we come out now with an express instruction that, okay, and that is assuming they have not been doing that. Before you even begin to consider cases, before you get your support staff to help you find out in the news if such cases are elsewhere. But when you talk of ex parte order and how it has been abused, some of those who are now complaining, wielding the big sticks, are beneficiaries of this ex parte order. And it is on record. And that's our position. So if we are cleansing the system, let's go back to section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 that's amended, that says that the state shall abolish corrupt practices and abuse of office. And all this can come under this. And the next question is, will there be penalties? And I think my wonderful colleague has made reference to that. Is it that we just read about this and you don't hear what comes up after this? Because from the statements of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, he already qualified it as a nonsense. What happened?
Yes.
And that they were going to do this and that and that.
A judge will not usually, they're not frivolous.
Exactly.
So when I heard this nonsense must stop, it means he's had it up to here. Now, coming back to you, Malaki, you had explained that this topic is a humongous one, if one is going to be able to do it justice. So that's why you probably indulge and understand us non-legal minds, having to grab at some of the words that are familiar to us. And this shows that the Chief Justice has had it up to here and wants to do something about it.
We are watching. The country has become a huge talk shop. We have, unfortunately, refrained from actions in the same manner that we run away from enforcement of the law, not that there is no law to be implemented. So we are watching. But I think it's important to, in addition to what my colleague has just put out, to inform that the Chief Justice of Nigeria is actually the Chief Justice and the head of the Nigerian judiciary, according to Section 6 of the Constitution. He is also the chairman of the National Judicial Council, an executive body created under Section 153.
And that body takes care of discipline, among other things.
It has its powers elaborately enumerated in the third schedule of the same Constitution. And if you go to the composition, my colleague will bear me out, of that council, he plays more than 60–70% role in the appointment of members, including 5 judges from the federating states, 5 chief judges, 5 retired justices, and so on and so on. So where we are now is that, like I said in my opening remark, we are all scandalized. And I fear that it is not when you lose a case that justice evaporates in a society. It is when the public loses confidence in the judiciary. And so I don't think, with due respect, the Honorable Chief Justice of Nigeria has as much latitude on what to do.
Okay.
The law is there, the procedure is also there. I wonder whether he can, within the context of the federation we practice, be able to rein down what has to happen. But that could be the starting point.
Okay.
Once recommendations are made for investigation, and it's clear that these were, professional misconduct or judicial misconduct, then the process can start.
Do you share, Malachi's point of view on the challenge before us, as I clarified in his statement, we are watching, and his subsequent remarks that we'll watch and see, because this is an intricate thing. He didn't say that, but I sort of deduced that. Do you share that opinion too?
I do, and I want to paint it with some colors of some precedent. Recall that the acting chairman of EFCC, Magu, was taken out of office based on some serious allegations, but he's yet to be prosecuted. So are we now saying he committed enough allegations to be removed from office, but he cannot be prosecuted? Even the case of former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onohe, that I made reference to, he was removed from office by virtue of infractions. He has not been prosecuted. So it's not about having laws.
The way sorry sir, the way we got here is we were looking at the whole matter of the Chief Justice mentioning in the same sentence inexperienced judges and complicated cases. And then you cited this particular example of a former Chief Justice. But I wanted you to, because before I will know that it is linked, I thought you might have said that, well, the judge in that case was also inexperienced. And this,
I was
trying to find the link.
Personally, as a matter of opinion, I think that alibi is just an excuse. Talking about being inexperienced. In fact, I've said that statement may be withdrawn, because you begin to ask, why do you even bring inexperienced judges into service? You see, so, and having established that, I want to ask a simple question. Now that the Chief Justice of Nigeria has described what happened as nonsense, are we going to gloss over the nonsense?
What has been happening?
Are we going to gloss over the nonsense, or are we going to make scapegoats to allow justice? Because what we were taught in the law school, and it's a fundamental concept of justice, that justice should not only be done, but clearly seen to have been done. So, and this is justice to the society, because we are even talking about political issues now. It touches on the fabric of the ecosystem of our democracy. Because and the insinuation is that it may be possible for politicians in connivers to manipulate the judicial process to their own benefit and create confusion in the polity.
But
so it's a whole lot of
a lot of people will consider that an abomination, yes, because the courts are the absolute last hope of the ordinary person. Yes. We know that also is a very pregnant statement, and it can be very, very difficult. But at least the system we have, the court is the absolute. So if anything is now to rock the integrity of that court, there are already many Nigerians. Go ahead and say they don't know anything about it if you like, who say that there is no justice in the country. Many people will rise to say, well, I don't agree. But based on the fact that they think whatever money can do, including all these, this is the way our people look at it. The man that doesn't get justice in this country, meaning doesn't get a court pronouncement, is the man that doesn't have two coins to rub together.
It's a statement, sir.
Yes, I am making that statement because it is what you hear at all sorts of tombo bars. Yes. You hear this at all sorts of pepper soup joints. I didn't say you hear them at any, institutions of higher learning.
And it is the assessment of those people that I worry about, and I'm quite convinced about that. However, I will not go that far. There have been serious allegations of corruption in the judiciary. It is not a statement of today. Justice Kayode Esho of blessed memory did a very comprehensive investigation on that and came up with a report that clearly indicted and particularly pointed at this incidence of over-judicialization of elections, and said that judges now even scamper and negotiate to be members of tribunals, election petition tribunals. Now, I think the point should be made that it's our country. It is work in progress. We have had challenges in virtually every aspect of our livelihood as a nation. But what must happen moving forward, and I'm happy that the president or the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association has also given an indication that it's not just about the judges. This kind of malfeasance takes two to tango. On the other side of the divide is even the lawyers.
Exactly. One second, please. Yeah. Because I wanted to read out a different number, I think, from that which you used, because of ongoing, what's going on. I think there's a simultaneous live broadcast. You might not be able to get us on the numbers that you usually know, so I'll just give you this one. 0902 416 3440. I'll just say it again. 0902 416 3440. Try that number and you should be able to speak with us. I don't think the one you usually use is working today.
So that if we're going to deal holistically with the situation, it will stand to reason that all stakeholders within the judicial system, including the legal practitioners, get their acts together. And the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Olumide Akpata, has given a very clear indication that we're not going to allow this lying low. Indeed, we have mechanisms within the bar to deal with outright cases of misconduct. And that's why we have the disciplinary committee of the NBA, of the Nigerian Bar. We have in place self-regulating mechanisms to deal and handle outright cases of misconduct. Now, if you are aware, if you are aware that a matter arose as it happened in this case in Anambra State, and the next option you have as a lawyer, with all the facts available to you, where the matter arose, where the facts, cause of action arose, where the parties are, and you left Anambra, for instance, and crossed 7 rivers, as they say, and find yourself somewhere in an obscure. I served in Jigawa State.
One moment, please. Let me bring in Ade in the UK. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hi, Chief. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Please go ahead quickly.
Okay. Now, the problem we are having in Nigeria within the judiciary, I'm happy about the Chief Judge, if he can reorganize the judiciary for us. As I'm talking to you now, we only have 9 members of State Assembly in Edo State. 9 members out of 24. And it's a judge who granted that order, which is against the Constitution. So, the Chief Judge should do something quickly to reorganize the judiciary, to stop, to bring them to sanity. That's all I want to contribute.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ade in the UK for that. We'll go on a quick break. We'll come back and, we'll continue to take your calls. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back. And just before I proceed, let me give you that number again that you can use to call in if you want. And I've just been told that actually it is the number you always knew. It's just that it helps out in a particular circumstance today for me to read it out. So here goes, 0902 416 3440. Probably give it another shot. 0902 416 3440. 3440. Did I hesitate? 0902 416 3440. Okay. Let me come to you with something else that another expression that the Chief Justice used. Malaki had led on to it for me by saying that it takes 2 to tango. There might be the system, the court systems in there, but there are also the legal practitioners, the counsel that are engaged by whoever is the litigant, and that's forum shopping. Break down forum shopping for us. Who does forum shopping first? Let me just clear that one out of the way.
By the time I explain it,
who does it? Help me out. Who does forum shopping? Is it the judge
global
or
practice.
The lawyer? Wait, is it the lawyer that does forum shopping or the judge
it's
that does
forum shopping? Because the lawyer that is seeking the favor.
Okay,
it's just in simple terms, favor shopping, advantage shopping. That means you find a platform where you are most likely to get a favorable decision.
Okay.
And we also have the doctrine of non-convenience, which is anti-forum shopping. So and what justice is saying is that justice is blind. So even when people come shopping for favor, you have to ensure that justice prevails. So forum shopping simply means you look for a platform where you are most likely to be favored.
Thank you, sir. Malaki, please. What are the favors that a lawyer can reasonably expect? Since I've heard it's a global practice. So when these lawyers go forum shopping, what are the kind of things that they legally can ask for?
If by that ingenious move, you are able to obtain a restraining order, that is favor. Now, and it usually occurs where these lawyers, so to speak, in most cases, suppress material facts that would have been available to the judge. But you see, this is where the judge is also expected to be circumspect. And like he did point out, you are not a judge in the moon. You're a judge within Nigeria. And you cannot pretend not to have at least a smattering knowledge of what is happening in the country. And therefore, if a man runs from Anambra and goes to the hinterland in Jigawa State and deposes to material facts that are not consistent with what has become a public knowledge, you will ask questions. And to wriggle out of that is to make him understand that you at least have a bit of the information around those issues on the basis of which you expect him to put the opponent on notice. And notice can be constructive.
Okay.
In any case, once that happens, there are many other things you could do. You could give very short dates. It could be 48 hours. It could be 72. You can abridge the procedures and fast track that process, in which case, that which has made you to come seeking for that favor can actually take a holistic view. In conclusion, and that may be introducing more strange words. In conclusion, I understand how slippery the knocking natures of issues of subject matter, jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction, and all that. But the court is always dominus litus, is always in control of his or her court, and therefore must be able to
Thank you very much. So you understand why we must probe when we are not lawyers. I'm not going to probe that. Neither am I going to probe the active or constructive injunction. I'm not going to probe that. I'm going to leave that one the way it is. Because now it has helped us tremendously. When I say us, non-legal minds, to understand that forum shopping is actually favor shopping. And that's why I wanted to find out, so what are the favors that can legally be, sought? And I did get a satisfactory answer. So it comes down to the whole system needs to be addressed at the end of the day, which is what the Chief Justice put across there. Because when you look at it, those he considered of immediate interest, the news report, you've seen it, he dealt with those judges, I think about 6 or so of them, he dealt with those judges individually in the region of an hour each, before later on reading all of them, the Riot Act, in a sort of combined session. This, and as you observed, thank you for that, remembering that, he had called the whole system, the whole setup nonsense. This nonsense has to stop. So I think to most ordinary Nigerians, well, now that the Ogakwatakwatak of the whole system, he himself has said that this is nonsense and it has to stop, there's hope. And
he's pretending over the nonsense as the Chief Justice of the country. So he has to do something other than what is happening now.
Anthony in the UK, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. How are you?
Thank you very much for calling in.
My sincere greetings and best wishes to the gentlemen in the panel. They are respected people who I always like to hear their views on this your program.
Thank you.
I will not take much of your time because I know these things are time bound. But quickly, I'll just say something. This topic we are discussing about today, it's extremely unfortunate that we have to be discussing about this, where the people that are supposed to be the orchestrator will look after the ordinary human being in the society as a force. Do you know, Uncle Yori, if a judge pronounces judgment on you, especially in the Supreme Court, you have nowhere else to go unless you know the Almighty God. How can we then now find ourselves in a situation when the lawyers, even senior lawyers in the country, they will be forum shopping? What kind of talk is that? A judge will give a judgment in a high court in Akwa Ibom, for example. And then because that man is not happy with the judgment, he goes away all the way to Jigawa. Can't in Jigawa bring himself to a position to understand that, look, why has this not come all the way? This matter is not within this jurisdiction. Can you not ask simple questions as in, there any existing judgment around this particular matter you have brought to me? Just do your own simple, small diligence. You don't need anybody to tell you that. I am not a lawyer. I follow this program, I follow lots of other programs. I understand what is happening in the country. You seriously telling me that judge does not understand or does not know that this man coming to me is coming to me out of jurisdiction? Let's be honest and frank with ourselves, and let's do things that will move this country forward. It's about time. Of what benefit is it to people like the senior lawyers and these judges for them to be rolling out conflicting judgments like this? It's so shameful.
All right then. Thank you. I want to thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call. Sorry I interrupted. Thank you very much. Appreciate your call. But try to make room in case there was anybody else who wanted to talk. Well, he said, like me, he's not a lawyer. But then through programs like this, you constantly hear from people like your good selves on different stations, not just even here. And this has given people some sort of an idea of areas of interest, because you people don't broadcast to a specialist audience. You broadcast to, shop owners, you broadcast to market women, as well as any intellectual that is interested. And that's where the rest of us begin to get a sense of what exactly is going on, just like that gentleman said in the UK. And that's why it probably is going to be gratifying to many. But you've also succeeded in, convincing me at least, don't know what the viewers think, that, excellent idea, but we are going to wait and see how it can be done, because there are I've got some other insights this morning that I didn't have you know, not that I didn't know that the Chief Justice is at once the chief of the NJC as well as
National Judicial Council.
Yes. So it means that, you know, how are those judges appointed? So all of these interweaving questions. So you can, if you reflect back to Malachi's earlier remark, very short remark, we shall see, or something like that.
we are waiting to see.
We are waiting to see.
Exactly.
Because it's a problem, or shall I? Yeah, let me just go ahead and call it a problem. It's a problem that has been known to everybody.
If you look at the composition of the National Judicial Council, and that is in the third schedule of the 1999 Constitution as amended, you will see a very robust composition indeed, you know, cutting across all stakeholders in the judiciary, including non-lawyers, about 5 of them. Now, with respect to the 5 members of the Nigerian Bar Association to be nominated by the National Executive Council of the Bar, their powers are limited only with respect to participating in the council, with respect to making input as to appointment of justices. Now, the question is that far-reaching enough? I recognize and I have said that we have our own inbuilt mechanism within the profession to deal with cases of malfeasance and misconduct. But if they have found them worthy to be members of the National Judicial Council, and the Constitution that gave them that access limits their power only with respect to, you know, making recommendation with respect to appointment of justices. Now that we have serious cases in which lawyers, after all, who are judges, they are drawn from the pool of lawyers. I am thinking that as we go into constitutional amendments, although I don't believe in this national, I've written extensively on that, such provisions of the Constitution could be addressed.
Okay, well, since I started the forum shopping thing with you, it's like, how much of an uphill task, if at all it is anything like that, do you think that objective will be? This matter about lawyers should just stop all this forum shopping all over the place.
The judges have extensive powers, like I have retreated. How do we address them in court, my lord? You know, when the judge speaks, you say, as your lordship pleases. You see, if you are not happy, you go to a higher level. So I think that discretion should be exercised on the side of justice. You see, justice is transparent. Justice is not biased. Justice is not sentimental. And beyond the common laws and the statutes, we even have the concept of equity. And the very essence of equity is to prevent miscarriage of justice. So you have to be sure that as you occupy that office, that you are above board. I've been in, and I must say, National Industrial Court. I don't want to mention the name of the judge. You know, he started sitting around 9:30 a.m. We did not rise until around 6 in the evening. And every time I go to that court, I'm amazed, because he's always out. He will tell you what the law is and everything, exercise discretion on the side of justice.
You know,
is it so?
Since I'm not a lawyer, I wouldn't know that judge. But without mentioning his name, he knows that law. I would have mentioned the judge's name.
And you must
even
commit
up to
yourself.
Service. What happens in terms of service administration is an example to be emulated by all.
It will even help your case. Tell you, if you are moving in that direction, you are not likely to win in this court. Go back to the library. Do this. So what we are saying is that, you see, if we want a prosperous society, if we want a peaceful society, there is nothing we can do but to embrace justice. When you talk about the rule of law, what does it mean? The prevalence of the law. And that is the conveyor belt of peace. So we are discussing ex parte order now. There are several other issues.
It's an aspect of the law, and I think
extensively.
Yes, it's an aspect of the law. It's not by any means all of it, maybe not even close, but that the Chief Justice saw fit to say that injury to one jurisdiction in terms of confidence, public confidence, integrity, legal integrity, and all of that is an injury to all. Before people will, in their minds, close down the whole Nigerian system and say, oh, in Nigeria. So I couldn't, that was my own non-legal understanding of what it was talking about. But with the situation we have on our hands now, I'm understanding that it's going to take some doing, but at least he has started the conversation.
Exactly, it's
he
fantastic.
Has started the conversation.
It's quite interesting.
And I also would like to borrow from the idea of we shall have to wait and see how this thing. Now, when Fashola SAN, currently Minister of Works, when he was governor here, I think he had a drive to computerize the courts and take it from the archaic analog, time when judges had to write everything longhand. Is that kind of a move in Lagos? I know we're being specific to Lagos now because I just remember that fact. Is it any help in making the judge more effective?
I talked about the serious, massive infrastructural development. I mean, provisioning.
But it's not
I talked about...
is it up and down? Is that where all high courts are now?
Well, there have been pockets of efforts. In short, it's not just Fashola. The vice president of this country started the revolution in the, if you may pardon my word,
yes,
in the legal judiciary.
Okay.
And so far, we've seen deliberate efforts and attempts to improve on some of these aspects of the system. But you could see as a practitioner that it's not as effective as it was intended to be. For instance, you go to certain courts in the legal judicial system, and you find that you could see some gadgets, but nothing is happening. You could see some gadgets, but there are no people manning those gadgets. At the end of the day, you see judges writing in long hands and so on. So this issue of support staff, this issue of research assistance, this issue of, in short, I have been in the same National Industrial Court some few years ago, and the judge was so furious with the system that he came to the point of asking me how many lawyers I had in my own chambers. And I said, wait a minute, I didn't understand the nexus between that question and what we are doing here. And he said, do you know that I do all my cases, I said, my lord, it is not...
Well, at least we know it's a lady.
I am
that much
no, it's a man. It's a man. I am in the bar. You are in the bench. Together, we are supposed to promote this justice thing. It's not for me to fathom the inscrutable ways of providence. You have elected me.
Let me hold brief for the...
Quickly weigh in on it because I got to go very, very soon.
Let me hold brief for the magistrate court in Ogba there. I was in that court on a particular day. With
he's talking about Lagos State.
Yes, with all, and this is an advocacy for interventions. With all the inverters installed, no electricity, the place hot, and the magistrate was still working. I was amazed.
So many of them.
So when we talk of infrastructure, let this infrastructure be effective. You see, working should be pleasurable. I mean, we watch these things on TV. You need to watch Judge Judy and all of them.
No, don't go there.
No. We need to facilitate, fluent engagement.
But I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Point is made.
I
think the point he tried to, so that I bury that, is that there are very many, in short, they are in the majority of judges and justices and even magistrates in this country that are giving out their soul, that are putting all their best to ensure. So if you have one or two bad eggs and they rein them in, and let's move forward.
I not even being a lawyer, not being part of the system, I really appreciate that point that Malaki has just made, that even with what the Chief Justice called nonsense within a section of the system, there still are judges that are working their heart out for the very, as you lawyers would like to put it, the integrity of the temple of justice.
And after all, Rivers State is rejoicing now over VAT. That is a judicial intervention.
Well, I gotta go. I want to thank you very much, gentlemen. Malaki Ogumadu and Jide Ologun, Thank you very much, giving us the benefit of your vast experience and knowledge of the law to help us understand, using some of the fringe words, as Malaki put
They are
it.
actually very dominant
They're
words.
very small fringe ones, but they help us ordinary people.
You know, lies are better told in English. So
Okay, so that's our program. See you tomorrow, God willing. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.